Any other thoughts? I mean, you're head of AI, Alexander. So
I think we're seeing a shift that maybe a year ago, a lot of companies would plaster AI all across their pitch deck and sort of portray that vision. Now it's a given that it's baked in to whatever you build. So even for the life sciences funds, etc., that we have across EQT, the way that you drive innovation today is, of course, with the new technologies empowered by this paradigm shift that we're in. And operating a company today without using AI to some extent is sort of like not using the internet and powering the company. So I think it's a given, but now it's not marketing anymore. People are tired of like leading with this is the new AI frontier. We're going to revolutionize how we wrap this industry with an LLM and then everything will work.
Yeah, and I think like to that point, we will probably start or stop talking about AI as much because it becomes so given. Like, I mean, first there was internet companies and there was cloud companies, etc. But like, yeah, of course they had a cloud or now have a cloud in the back end, in the infra. And in the same way, it will become so given that you have AI as a part of your infra, your product, your ways of working, that it's not something that stands out anymore to your point. So yeah, it will be less talked about.
So if you don't see it in a pitch deck, if you don't see that there's a plan of adopting AI, that's kind of a red flag today?
I mean, not seeing it in a pitch deck, that doesn't have to be a red flag.
It's because it could rather refreshing.
Exactly, yeah. Then they take it so much for granted. Like, of course, we're building this in an AI-native way and leveraging AI where AI should be leveraged, and also not leveraging AI to your point where it shouldn't be leveraged. So, yeah.
If I did that, I mean, the whole fund is physical AI focused, so that'd be a little bit awkward. But otherwise, I don't think, to your point, even if you're investing in physical AI, you're not looking at, oh, good, you've got the checklist of, you're talking about AI. I think it's starting to talk about exactly whose problem you're solving, why this technology, what else is it? I mean, AI is a tool in your toolbox, right? So I think the nuance that can come with, as you say, if we just assume that you're going to be using AI, that's where it gets interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's so many different parts to AI too. It's a wide spectrum. There are AI applications. You mentioned physical AI, robotics. Are there any certain parts of that spectrum that you like more than others and others that you stay away from?
I'm a deep tech investor, so as further you can go down the tech stack, I've looked at photonics companies, I've looked at chips, I mean, AI infra, honestly, my personal investments, AI infrastructures are like the things that are carrying everything else. But that said, not everyone can have a fund that even this fund wouldn't be able to go that deep. So I'd say there's a lot happening below the application layer where you can really be exciting.
We're basically investing across the stack. So from the application layer, both very verticalized applications, I think those horizontal going up against the Googles of the world, and also like mid-layer dev tooling and infra from companies building their own models and so on and so forth to pure AI research labs working on new frontier challenges, basically.
Cool. So you're looking at everything within AI.
Everything within AI, and we're investing so early, so we are purely over-indexing on founders. We're looking for really technical founders who also come with, we like to talk about spikes. There has to be something very special about the founders that we're back that can come in very different shapes and forms. It could be that they're completely obsessed with something. It could be that they have a certain sub-interest that is very unique, that they have done something in their life or experienced something in their life that sort of sets them apart, which sort of makes it possible to believe that they are not wired like everyone else. They will not just go on and build a good company. They could potentially go and do something that looks impossible and build a really great company.
Well, there's a lot to dig into here. We can talk more about the founders, but I want to stay with the kind of areas of AI. I don't know if you have a comment on that as well, Alexander, parts of AI.
Yeah, I think it changes over time, right? So now I'm very interested in how AI can be applied in order to drive science and to have recursive sort of self-improvement from context and from research that these models can do, and then to feedback that into a process that then makes it recursively better over time. I think we're starting to see some glimpses of that, but that's going to unlock even more sci-fi, futuristic things in deep tech, but also with the way that enterprises operate, etc. We're in some sort of like takeoff scenario, and we've only scratched the surface what we can do with this technology.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Do you have a comment, Emma?
Just can I expand on that? Like,
Of
let's
course.
assume a future where all of this comes true, right? You had a comment about how it impacts enterprise. I think it's misleading to assume that our value chain will stay intact and AI will just, like we had digitization will be sprinkled on evenly. I think you're going to see massive shifts in center of gravity on who owns what in the value chain. I think there'll be new players that own it end to end. And I think that's the really tricky part when you talk about founders that have that kind of vision and you see that talk about it.
Yeah, I feel like I love when there is a true like first principles thinking, like not just selling AI tooling to legacy players for them to improve their existing processes, just like you're saying, but rather like, okay, could we replace this legacy player by building a new AI native alternative that is fundamentally different?
Yeah, it is a very competitive space, and here's a spicy question, okay? Because we're talking about the different layers of AI, and if you focus on the very top layer, the AI applications. Again, quoting Gemini here, do you look at most vertical software apps today and secretly think this is just a feature waiting to be eaten up by the next API updates? So we're going to talk about moats a little bit here, but I mean, you're seeing so many startups being built today, and do you think that, hey, these AI models are just going to get so much better and it's going to be...
I think that's definitely a question you need to ask when you're looking at an investment, and try to extrapolate at least where the models will be 3 to 6 to 9 months moving forward. Because what you want are founding teams and companies attacking a problem where they're going to benefit where the model will be in 9 months. So all of these sort of verticalized, maybe like service as a software players that exist in the market today, in order to do that really well, I think you can grow using different strategies and become an established market player. So one thing is that you can still have like product taste and you can know how that market operates with domain expertise. And if you leverage that together with the new capabilities that we get from AI, the model is not going to eat up that experience that you have in your brain and that you can apply to creating something that is a magical experience for the end users. Then also how you do like go to market, maybe how you use forward deployed engineers, etc., etc. You can be smart in many different dimensions attacking the problem. But there needs to be something that a vanilla Claude in 6 months or Gemini won't be able to solve.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. A lot of companies will get wiped out in every release. But I agree with most of the things you're saying. And like, if we take some very sort of vertical application layer companies like Dentio, who was here on stage, building in a regulated industry, serving dentists, where they have to also integrate to very specific journaling systems. They need their MDR approvals, etc. It's a very sort of tricky go-to-market, going dental clinic after dental clinic, and also then sort of educating the dentists on how to use the system. They need to pretty much forward deploy people on the clinics to get it up and running, and so on and so forth. I mean, that's not just a general Gemini release that wipes out that kind of business. But if you are building within, content generation for social media, I mean, the general purpose models can generate pretty slick content today, both static visuals and video and audio and so on and so forth. So that's an area where, I'm not as excited as the very sort of deeply verticalized ones.
I think several things can be true at the same time. So is there an opportunity right now to build on the application layer? Yes. Is it good business? Yes. Is it a generational company? No, it's not. But that doesn't matter. There's many things that are available today that are many of a kind, everything from shoes to hot dogs to furniture. There is a possibility to run a business on a different set, as long as you have that expectation. So if you're building something today on the application layer, thinking that it's going to be around for 50 years, then you already have a problem. But if you think you can make a good company out of it, good business out of it for several years down the line, and maybe your product will evolve, fine. Then there's a whole host of other people that are building from day zero with this generational thinking in mind, and they cannot start in the application layer. So you can make a choice, but just be honest with yourself what it is that you're signing up for.
And I think like what we're seeing the really great companies do as well is that they grow within the stack. They might start as an application layer company, then they sort of generate their own proprietary data and they become a data company. Potentially some of the larger ones, they're also looking at sort of owning and operating their own infrastructure to also have independence there, etc. And it could be that via their application they also provide compute to their customers, etc. So I think like the $1 trillion opportunities, they're thinking bigger than the application alone. That could be a wedge to then sort of expand the stack.
I see. Yeah. Any thoughts?
Yeah, so also the opportunity to become a standard in a market now, because everything is changing. And I think both for entrepreneurs and founders, but also VC investors, the opportunity has never been larger to do something, because the paradigm shift right now, according to me at least, with the technology that is brought to life, it's bigger than ever and it's easier than ever to start something new and actually do it in a novel way. And you can also see that if you look at statistics, how companies are growing today. And also if you correlate it with headcount, we have never seen anything in history. And it's not like this progress is going to slow down. I actually think we have only started accelerating, so it's going to get more and more volatile. And volatility is good for early stage founders, because then you can address the opportunities that will come from that volatility.
And then I think we should also not underestimate the value of brand and community building and so on in this day and age. I mean, just look at Lovable. It's not the only vibe coding platform out there, but the way that they've managed to crack distribution, build an amazing brand, a community that just keeps fueling itself and getting that sort of organic growth flywheel going. It's such an asset. And there's not just about the tech and the products. It's also these things that could sort of be you could call it fluff, but it's so high value and fundamental to their modes.
Yeah, that is so interesting. That's one of the spicy questions. Like, is true product differentiation dead in the age of generative AI? Like with these vibe coding tools, for example, anyone can spin up software. How do you stay competitive? I'm not going to pick on like Dentio, but if somebody else could build a similar solution, how does somebody win in that category? Like, is there even a moat? Can you even defend your business nowadays?
But to Eric's point, I think that the only moat that has eroded the past years, it is the technical complexity, lines of code for how you're building your product. That is not defensible anymore. Maybe if you have something that is super complex, that is not in the distribution of how the LLMs have been trained, etc., it's harder for Cloud Code or Codex or Gemini to build something similar. However, the traditional moats around network effects, distribution, scale, branding power, all of those things are still true. And now, because the markets are changing, you can actually become like the category leader and the top of mind company like the Cursor or Lovable in very crowded categories extremely quickly. Like it won't take more than 6 to 12 months to become, to be king made or queen made.
I feel like Gemini gave you spicy questions the way like when you go to a restaurant in Sweden and it's a spicy meal. Like,
don't worry, we'll get there.
You're building this up, but I think it assumes an extrapolation of the future based on the models of the past, and that's exactly where this boils down. Of course, there are moats in today's world. We just talked about brand. We didn't mention Jude Law, which we should have. But there's moats for pure software plays, but there is a whole host of other moats to be created. Genesis AI, which is this Paris, San Francisco base, they're doing a full stack from software, hardware for the robotics. We're looking at anytime you tether AI to the physical world, and that's how you teach it to learn and predict, that's your data. You don't even need to patent that. There's just no one else that can access that. So there's so many different ways when it comes to branding to your technical side. The only thing I urge you, and there was some really great stuff on this previous panel about speed as a moat. Speed is not a moat. It's an operating system. You cannot do without it. It's a no compromise question, but it's a head start. It is not a permanent lead. So please keep building other layers, keep evolving your company with the times. If you get really married to this idea and then you're, again, extrapolating the future based on the present, you're in for a ride. So,
okay, can we make it practical, bring this to life? This is not one of the spicy questions, but it'll get there. Can you tell us about a recent investment that you've made? I know, Mala, you were just starting out, but you were at Industry Fund before. But just mention an investment that you made recently, and what was your thinking around making that investment? I mean, Eric, you've done so many recently.
Yeah, maybe one that is a bit of sort of a sign of the times. One that we made very recently in legal AI, Old Moritz. They were in Y Combinator this winter. They're building a full stack AI native law firm. So to my previous sort of point, they're not selling tooling to legacy law firms. They are becoming the AI native law firm, basically. And they are then also, they're building a fully licensed law firm where AI does 85% of all the work for corporate legal with same day turnaround, fixed pricing, far better pricing, etc. But they also have elite lawyers in the loop. So there is a human element in it and a services component. And I think that's a huge trend that we're seeing right now. And that also sort of brings defensibility and, or at least an edge to the pure model players, where you also add a services layer. Sequoia wrote a now famous piece this winter on services collapsing into software, and also now going after the sort of OPEX spend of companies. And I think that's a brilliant way to both leverage AI where AI can run by itself, but also to augment humans and still have that sort of element of taste and expertise and human context and to some extent human relationships as well, being able to pick up the phone and also speak to a real human when it comes to a corporate legal matter, for instance.
Yeah, I met the founders just the other day, actually.
Yeah.
He's a cool guy. But can you tell us, like, how did you find them? Did they find you? And how long did it take for you to make a decision? Can you tell us about, like, the practicalities?
So Pamir, who's the founder and CEO, building together with Stefan, his co-founder. I first met Pamir like 3 years ago when he was building another business, which never sort of became anything. Then we got reconnected early this year, when it was very early days. They hadn't launched anything, but we decided to keep in touch. And then when he was opening his round during Y Combinator this winter, I think I was his first call on the investor week that they do the week before demo day. I basically committed on the call, and we signed the papers within 24 hours from that call. But also during those 24 hours, we had time to do a lot of referencing on him and his co-founder via our networks and the people that have backed us. We had also already done a lot of work on this space, met a ton of companies. So like we were already lined up. Like when we find the one, we want to be able to run really fast. And that was a safe note, so a convertible. So we signed on one valuation on the Tuesday that week, and he was planning to raise $3 to $3.5 million. On the Saturday, he had to sort of shut it down, ended up closing $9 million of funding, with the last money being taken at a sort of 2.5x valuation that we signed on the Tuesday. So also like to the point of speed, like things are moving so fast now when it comes to the very best that catch momentum. And that's also something that has really changed for us as investors as well. We need to be super agile, have flexibility. We can't sort of act as early stage PE funds when we're doing these founder bets at the very early days.
So the market has changed for you too.
100%.
Yeah. Any other kind of examples that you want to share?
We recently co-led the Series A of Star Cloud. They're also a YC company, I think the fastest growing YC company in YC's history. They're building data centers for space, and they're the top contender today to SpaceX efforts doing that. They also collaborate with SpaceX to actually get the equipment up into space. But they were the first company to train an LLM on H100s in orbit, which is amazing. And to me, a bet like that only illustrates that you can dream really big today. And things that were completely sci-fi before are now starting to become a reality. And on the trend in physical AI, I was with NVIDIA 2 weeks back in Zurich and met a lot of founders who are building VLA models for robotic brains or specialized hardware for certain settings. And it's amazing to see that we are sort of at the cusp. Or to me, the analogy is that in 2020, GPT-3 came out. I played around a lot with that API, and that felt like a glimpse of the future. I had done a lot of work in natural language processing before that, but all of a sudden you had capabilities where you could write essays and stuff by instructing it. And that's where we are in the physical realm now. And I think the world will look very, very different 3 to 5 years from now. And that's a huge opportunity for everyone. And attacking like really hard problems. You can do that together with agents, together with smartness within computers now. And it's a new era.
Yeah, that's deep tech. Data center space. Anyone you want to share?
Yeah, so there is this fantastic team called Acteria that I invested in. They're now doing AI-enabled molecular discovery to reduce methane through all your agricultural operations. But when I met them, they were and more sheep and many other things. But it's incredible what the size of the problem is. And when I met them, they weren't actually here. This was a pivot that we did after my investment, and we worked through it. They always had this piece in it. But the investment, first of all, exactly as you, the best relationships start before a transaction. I don't know who you know that you like, that you met when you had something you asked of them. It always starts early. It starts before you get to know them. You learn how they think, they learn how you think. So the same thing with Martin and Maya. And there's something that stands out during these conversations where you see these are people that have the audacity and the ability to take on something as big as cow farts, which are, destroying our entire world. And they have such a crisp vision, but they listen. And then they build something technically complex. And that's just such a rare combination. When you see that, you know it. So, yeah.
Yeah, lots of great kind of insights in that answer of what you're looking for at a founder. I see the clock ticking, but I can't help, I have so many questions. But when you're in a meeting with a founder, you mentioned some of it, but what do you look for? Do you know, in the first couple of minutes that, yes, I want to invest, or take us through signals in those calls?
I started.
Yeah.
I think it's a dangerous, yes, you often know, and then, hindsight, you're like, I always knew, which is, just normal and human. But I think because of that, because at least I'm aware of that, of myself, I think the burden is on me, if I especially like the founders in the initial meeting, to dig deeper, to take what I've thrown says, to make sure I'm being objective so that I can be the best investor. And I can be the objective sounding board that you need, and not just a yes man that drives you off the cliff when, because we're all in the same boat. So it does happen. It can be good and it can be bad, at least in my books.
Any other comments? Because you have to move fast, but you're investing so early. And many of these companies don't have any revenue, they don't have any numbers. How do you decide to invest?
I mean, it's back to this, about spikes, getting those signals that there is something special here in terms of their ambition, their sort of willingness to also sacrifice other things, to really go all in on what they're going to do, that they are obsessed, and it's not just about doing a lot of hours. It's in their minds, there is nothing else. This is the thing. And they won't compromise on anything. They will only hire the best. They will be picky in what capital they take on board. They will not sort of start out in a sort of in a fashion where it moves slowly. They will swing big. And that's also what we tell them is we can, on our investment in them, we can only lose our money 1x. That's it. And we don't care about that. We're happy to lose our money 1x. What we don't want to see is founders who don't go for it, who don't dare to sort of take the big swings, hire the best, go to wherever in the world it makes sense, get that contract, build out that tech, etc., to at least try to build the category winner and potentially for us then be that 100x plus return, which is what we're looking for. I mean, we're not interested in 3 to 5x returns on our investments. That's doesn't move the needle to us.
Yeah, ambition is so important. Do you have any comment there?
Yeah, so we're building internal sourcing systems that look at founder characteristics. So we're complementing those physical meetings with also data points, and only looking at the most successful founders over the past 10 to 15 years in our data sets. What really stands out is the people who have a trajectory, that either they can have a chip on their shoulder, so they've started a company that didn't go well, they really want to make it, and they're more hungry than anyone else attacking that opportunity. It might be that it's a world-class researcher. So we had the opportunity to invest in Ineffable Labs. David Silver's a new company, he led the reinforcement learning initiatives at DeepMind. There you have a person who understands reinforcement learning better than anyone else, and that can create a super intelligence moment for the world if that happens. He and his team will probably be the ones that realize that. But there are a couple of sort of characteristics that you can try to identify, and it can be from the data points that exist on you online, that's going to be scrutinized, but also in the meeting. I think You sort of build conviction every time that you meet someone. And the people who can think very clearly about where something's heading also and articulate that in a meeting and build this big vision for how the world is changing and for what they're doing, how that's going to part of that change. I love that. So it's always be crystal clear, thinking from first principles like we are.
I think the chip on the shoulder one is like, that's a very clear, like recurring one. And that could come in many different shapes and forms. It could be that they built a previous company where they had an exit, but it wasn't a big outcome. So they know like they've been there, they've done the work.
Or it's a prep stack.
Yeah, exactly. But it didn't sort of take them all the way. So now they want to go again. And now now there's like no option not to really get it all the way. And also like it could be very personal things in life. I met a founder the other day. When he was 16, he had a very severe concussion. So he was basically hospitalized for 3 years. And the doctor said that you will not be able to have a normal job. Maybe over time you'll be able to work part-time. He just set out very determined, like, I'm going to show the world that I can become whatever I want. He did his PhDs in physics at Oxford. Then he worked for the best investment banks in New York, got top ranked. Now he's been in PE in London, and now he's starting a VC-backed company. So yeah, it's like and that's a spike. It's a very unfortunate spike that he had to go through that, but it has done something to him that now sets him on a certain trajectory.
Amazing. We do have some time for questions from the audience. So if you have any questions, think about that. But I do want to follow up. This is a spicy question, okay? We just talked about companies that you've invested in, but let's talk about the opposite of that, okay? So I'm going to read the question. So every VC loves to talk about the massive successes, but let's talk about the anti-portfolio. So if you look back at companies that you've passed on in the past 24 months that went on to raise massive rounds from top-tier international funds, what was the specific blind spots or bias in your investment thesis that caused you to miss them? And who on this panel was brave enough to name that startup? Really big question. So these are basically companies that you could invest in, that you didn't invest in, and then had big success stories. If you want to share, if you have one of the stories.
I think one blind spot is to underestimate how big of a change this is going to be and how the TAM was enormous when you provide something new to the market. That mindset shift took some time and led to a couple of missed opportunities because the upside now is so much bigger than any time before. I can't mention specific companies, but we definitely underestimated how big this opportunity is and how big companies quickly can get.
So I can mention one.
Okay.
So we missed out on Legora's first VC round. And I loved Max. I loved what they were doing. But when they were raising that round, it was too big in size. The valuation was going to be too high, etc. So it basically came down to a flaw in our fund model at the time, that we had strict ownership mandates. Like for a ticket like this, we need to have this certain type of ownership. We have thrown that out of the window now when we set up a new fund. Flexibility is key. We just want to back the best. We want to be able to say yes to Max. Doesn't matter if it means that we get 2% to 10%. If there's someone who wants something generational.
So I can't name names, but there's been a recurring theme when it was lack of flexibility. So there were certain parameters, or actually I think when you've done investing for a very long time, you tend to settle into certain parameters as just being what you have to do instead of questioning or challenging them. So that has definitely led to saying no to deals because you were looking for the wrong things because they were in the wrong phase. So deep tech is tricky, for example, pre-revenue, all of them. And then if you're like, how does this grow? What is the market? You're wasting the founder's time, your time, and then someone else moves faster, and then you lose the deal. So that's definitely happened. It caused a lot of good, reflective discussions. Still very bitter about having lost those deals. So it didn't heal anything, but it certainly made us smarter. Maybe put a chip on the shoulder, I guess. So there's that. Yeah.
Good learning. Any questions from the audience? Yes, go ahead.
I'm wondering about token cost.
1 sec.
Hang on.
Can you repeat the question?
I'm worrying about token cost. Are you worried about token cost will skyrocket when there is no rebate on tokens anymore? And are you seeing companies like offsetting or hedging their token just skyrocketing with investment on infrastructure for stuff, since hardware installation per month is like a finite number. You have like a lot of companies depending on those resources. And you see like in ads with real-time bidding on tokens.
You want to start?
Yes. So I'm not worried about that at all. To be honest, I think it's gonna come down as rapidly, at least as it has in the past like 2-3 years. So if you take capabilities across LLMs and then look at the cost, it usually goes down more than 90% year over year for the same types of capabilities. And now the models are good enough for many different like application areas. So we're going to start to use a more wide variety of models for different purposes. And that type of triaging and routing between models will make the token costs go down over time. You can also see that NVIDIA only, if it was yesterday, launched a chip that can run very sophisticated models on a laptop. So that's also going to happen. We will deploy things on device, on the edge. And what you can do as well is that you can fine-tune and post-train models for specific purposes within an enterprise. So if you have a lot of customer support requests coming in and you're serving that with, or you're solving those requests with a frontier model, that's not really necessary. Instead, you can take a small language model, you can fine-tune it on your specific data, and it will work really well answering the requests. And then it's 3 orders of magnitude cheaper to run that specific thing. But right now we're in an experimentation phase. I think CFOs are starting to knock on doors now and saying, what are you actually doing? But that experimentation is essential in order to be on the exponential curve of development, I think.
We have time for one more question in the audience, if we have one. Yeah, over there. We have a mic for you.
Mike? How do you see sophisticated AI or just challenge the old from
That's a spicy question.
Good, like it.
Can I start by tackling this? I think we absolutely are going to see a disruption in how VC is built, and I think you start yesterday with building your own AI native VC fund, apropos your role, but then some. I think if you're not training your fund and changing it to make it more flexible, to make it faster, to make it more intuitive, you're not relevant in the game. So there's just no if about this. You cannot use like just one little tool to use on your chat to your documents. You really have to rethink fund life cycles, how you're going to invest. Do you come in later than you used to? What does pre-seed even mean? What does pre-incorporation even mean? Who do you partner with? So I think this is the most exciting time. In fact, it was one of the big triggers for me why I had to start this fund, because I was like, I'm going to regret myself if I do this 2 years later. So absolutely, yes, has to be done. It will be very painful. There will be a huge number that don't make it. And it will have nothing to do with whether they're good or bad investors, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It will be a massive reset of the VC market. And to some extent, the business model will probably be questioned as well. But I think fundamentally, like what is really changing is the process of how we operate, how we build teams, etc. But what LPs, our investors, are paying us to do, or at least what they should be paying us to do, is getting access to the very best companies. And that's not just having sort of an automated system pinging you that there is this company out there. It's also about getting into that company, winning the right to invest. And that's something we can charge a premium for when we talk about our business model. So that, and that part is way harder to automate. That comes down to reputation, to relationships, to positioning, and so on and so forth, and founder reps or whatnot. But definitely a lot of the back end and the sort of daily grind can be automated and will be automated. Or it's already automated.
Exactly. If anything, AI is going to make VC finally more human again, I think. That's
Yeah, I mean, I'm spending way less time now than a couple of years ago on writing memos and stuff. Like, it's now I'm only speaking to founders.
Get all AI, please.
Yeah.
Any thoughts from you?
Yeah. I can maybe wrap up that segment by saying that I also believe in the human element of VC and building relationships, and that is what investors should do. That is where you can have a unique selling point. I mean, when you're taking capital for someone on a journey building a company, that's going to be a relationship for 10 or 15 or 20 years if you're successful. And it's a rocky ride. It's huge peaks, enormous bottoms you have to get out of. So you really want to partner up with great people that you trust and that can help you navigate all the things it takes to be really, really successful in the end. However, you can identify almost anything else. And you can also be smart with how you leverage these models to build like thematics, to find out trends in the market before anyone else, and be there meeting the entrepreneurs who are going to sort of ride those new waves and conquest.
I have loved this conversation. There's a big red kind of lamp flag like blinking here because we're out of time. But any final piece of advice for any founder that is fundraising right now?
Be bold. Show that you want to, like, if you want VC money, show that you have a very large outcome or potential outcome in terms of what you're building. Show that you have high agency, that this is sort of your life's work. Because if you want to more run a lifestyle business or something that can fast be profitable and then again growing, then you should probably not spend time talking to VCs. That's just bad use of your time. But so, like, first of all, decide this is really VC money you want, because it's a very slim number of companies who should take VC money. And if you are one of them, make sure that you have a AAA team, that you have the ambition, the agency to really go for it, because that's what's going to be required. And those are the signals that we will pick up on in a meeting if you have your ambition level set up here or not, basically.
No's are not personal, but you do have a choice whether you're going to grow and learn from them, or you're going to become upset and defensive about the entire, state of fundraising right now, and you don't have time for the latter. So you really need to power through the no's, find what you can learn, move on. If it wasn't a fit, it wasn't a fit, but maybe there was something else that you could use going forward to find other.
Make sure to get tailwind from your passion. Dream really, really big and try to envision what the world is going to look like in 3 years. So there's all that stuff. And also try to create utopia. I think humanity has that opportunity now, if we navigate this whole trajectory that we're on really well. So be part of that sort of mission, and that we want to back you.
I love that. We want to back you. Cool. We'll end on that note. Thank you so much for coming. Hopefully you can stick around for the mingle, but really, really appreciate the conversation. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, stick around. We have a couple more sessions left, and I'm really excited about this next one. Let me switch the slide. So you just had a panel with VCs, and now we're going to switch gears and talk to a very experienced founder. So let me read some of his accomplishments and backgrounds. I'll just invite him up. So he co-founded a company called Student Consulting back in 1997, and he scaled it to 800 million in revenue, and he exited that in 2012. He was then part of the founding team and chairman of a company called CodeMill. He took that public to NASDAQ First North. He co-founded a company called Vaccina. In 2.5 years, they had more than 300 million in revenue and 75 million in profits. He's done it all, it feels like. And today he's an investor. He's a CEO and founding partner at Disruptive Ventures, and we're going to hear more about that. So please help me welcome up Niklas Jansson. Let's see if I need this. Welcome, Niklas. Good to have you here.
Oh, good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Wow. I'm just reading your background and your accomplishment. It's like you've done it all. And we're going to dive into it. But one question that keeps coming to mind when I meet accomplished founders, please take this route the right way. You don't have to work anymore. Like you could live your days on the beach, but you're back in. You're not only investing, but you're actually rolling up your sleeves, you're building companies. Why? Why are you back in the game building after all of this data?
Question. And for building together with great people. I think that's where it all starts. To me, it feels like the beginning. It doesn't feel like it's done it. So it's more like a new fresh start in every new company. Thinking like what's next and what's next.
Is it because of AI or what's happening in AI right now that makes you so excited?
I think that makes me even more excited. So I think what we heard in the previous speech was that the time has kind of increased. I think that's makes it more, the potential is much higher.
So going through some of the things that you've done, going to the past and thinking of the first company you started, 1997, you were a student yourself, right?
Yeah, this was in my second year at the university, together with a classmate, Betty. So we started through the institute.
Yeah. So how come you started it? How did you get the idea?
We had no money. Just exactly like every else of our classmates, we had no money, and that was kind of a key problem. So we started. I think that's common for all of us that's sitting here, that we are really builders that try to solve problems with our entrepreneurship. And I think that entrepreneurship is also the best way to solve the largest problems.
And one thing that I'm very curious about is how you were able to scale a company to such a level. Can you tell us about kind of the growth journey of student consulting? How did you grow? How did you get your first customers? And because I think today it has, I checked, Gemini only 1.6 billion right today. So it's still around, seems to be doing very well even today. How did you get your first customers? How did you get started? How did you grow it to such a?
I think that it all started around the university, so we walked around the university area and was picked up customers. So I think what you should always remember that 80, or at least the vast majority of all value that's been built was through new revenue. When we look upon it from constructive sides too, so sales is that's kind of the common theme.
Do you see any parallels today? I mean, are there fundamentals to growing in the companies you work with today that you applied in 1997?
I think scaling is pretty much the same. For me, a company needs to scale in three different ways. You need to scale your organization. That can be agents today. Well, that is agents today, I would say. You need to scale your business model. So we don't like one-offs, of course. It's more ARR or usage-based or whatever. And then you also need to scale. Kind of how do you scale the product or the service? How do you scale it so it becomes a repeatable, profitable business model?
Okay. And obviously, AI didn't exist back then. But when you look at the companies and the founders that you lead today, obviously the opportunities to play in game are so much different. Let's say if you go back and started student consulting over again, what would you do differently, and how would you apply AI?
Yeah, I think student consulting is people matching with 10,000 students each year, and I think that probably majority inside here in this room would be able to build something like student consulting. And I also think that's the big possibility today. Student consulting is still around. It's 5.6 million in turnover, billion in turnover. So, and I think I'm looking forward to the kind of after this session, writing checks on people that want to start with my service work. So that's what we're saying.
Oh, so you're looking for people building in the same space that you were.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay. And what I'm curious to learn about your biggest hurdles through that journey. Was it like what was it? Can you take us through some tough challenge and that was like, and what piece of advice would you give yourself as you were starting?
Because as an entrepreneur, you need to kind of always hire bar racers. So if you come to disruptive, for example, we hire very cool people. So I think then everyone is better than I am. So then you kind of get that acceleration we heard in the previous speech or session here. So I think always look for bar racers wherever you go in this event. And it's a great way of finding great people. Also, that's what I'm looking for all day.
We're going to get back into what you're doing today and what you're looking for. But there's also one thing with, people such as yourself, you've been through the journey, and we often hear that when somebody starts a company, it's kind of their baby. And you started a company, you worked on it for 10 plus years, and then you sold your shares. I'm just curious, what did that feel like? Like when you signed those papers, can you take us through them all?
I think it feels like when you look at a TV series for a long time, for a couple of months or so, and then when it finally ends, that's the feeling. Okay, what am I doing next? Some of that kind of metaphor I would use.
But did you feel happy, or did you feel empty? Because I've heard vast range of feelings when you exit your company.
I think it's more empty because it's your baby, of course, but then you look at the bank account and then you're a little bit happier, and then you look back and then you feel happy. So I think it's that feeling I need to
mixed feelings.
Yeah.
Do you think it's easier to build companies today compared to when you were starting?
Yeah, I would say much easier. Building products, the cost of building products is 1/10. That makes it easier, but of course then we have the moats. I would say it's much easier. Previously you needed tens of millions to build something I can be doing. Now.
And you've built companies in a wide range of different industries too. When we talked about consulting, I mentioned CodeMail, which is completely different. You are building a company in health tech as well with Athena. How come you're building some of different kind of field? And what I want to get at is, are there any kind of similarities or fundamentals that you can apply across this industry?
Yeah, there are many. I think every company started by people and ideas. It's a combination. There's always sales and there's some kind of value creation part for production. I think there's a lot of things that you can take, and I'm a curious guy. I love new stuff, so I think that's also a reason why I wouldn't be happy just doing fintech all the time or something.
Okay. Well, tell us about CodeMail. That was kind of one of the. Was it the second big success story in say? Yeah. And what was that? And take us through that journey. And ultimately, we took that public to NASDAQ.
Yeah, it's a video production company that has the largest Disney, Paramount, Discovery, those kind of companies. Why do you take a company to First North and to NASDAQ? We needed a lot of money to be able to build products at that time. Maybe it would have been different today, but we needed a lot of money for the product development part and also launching in the US and building an organization. So IPO was the easiest way. Not the easiest way, but
it made sense. It made sense for you. So what felt better, signing away your shares, doing consulting, when you're ringing the bell?
I think it's just different problems that you want to solve. Talk with your company what you need. What type of financing do you need for your company? So I would really argue for going that way. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, and then Vaccina was also a really success story. Can you tell us about that company? And you ultimately exited, sold the whole company, right? Yeah. Can you take us through that journey?
That was a fast journey. It's pretty much like the surrounding that is today with AI. I think different layers. We start with this. I think that the situation that we are right now is a little different than if I compare to the end of the 1999, 2000. This is something different. And I think it's more of creative destruction. This is not an iterative thing where you fight for market share within a niche. So I think it's a really hard time investing because all the layers, they can sometimes collapse really rapidly. So it's hard to invest here. And we heard the previous investors that saying they are kind of the portfolio construction is that you go in different layers. You don't only go with one. methods. So I think that's a thing then. And Vaccina was around the whole COVID story with that. So that was something that happened outside. But this is more of a structural thing, but I think it's much, much bigger. So it's the issue.
Yeah. Can you tell us about the exit from Vaccina? How did that happen?
We were approached and we were building this super fast. So of course there was a lot of problem, but we also saw were huge potential. So when an industrial player like you procures something, then they wanted to add this to their portfolio. That was
are the details of that exit open?
No.
Okay. It was a good exit.
That was good.
All right. When I talk to founders that have gone through the whole journey and built companies over a long period of time, it's often the case that there's some near-death experience. Did you ever have one of those across your company, like when you thought, okay, this is not going to work, or I need to be?
I can go back to 2002, for example. There were after the 99-2000 bubble, so that was a financial bubble, I would say mostly. 2002, I took student debt to finance startups. So we did a couple of different things around those years. And then I was more or less bankrupt. I lived with my now wife at the apartment within Plan, Sydney there. And there was only one problem with this apartment or the office, and it was that it was no shower in it. It was kind of a problem. So we walked every morning down to Sveavägen, where it was a 24/7 gym, so we can have a shower. So we did that for half a year, and then things got better.
So it's just like grinding through.
Yeah, and she's still my wife, and we have 3 wonderful children.
Let's talk about what you're doing today. Disruptive Ventures, I mentioned that. Can you tell us what that is? It's quite recently that you launched it.
Yeah, 3-4 years ago, Disruptive Ventures is an AI-driven operational investor. So there are 12 of us. We're an operational investor, meaning that we're not only investing and sitting on the board. So we're an HR team, an AI team, tech team, also, of course, business and team. We have communication, branding, PR person. So we think that this is part of the professionalization of the investment industry, that we can help the companies from more or less with everything except from the core competence of domain expertise and value chain. Also, so we try to help them with. Sometimes it can be finding the right business model, or it can going international, and so on. So we have quite few companies. We try to give them a lot of help.
So you're very active.
Yeah, I would say that.
You provide capital.
Yeah, it's a combination of capital, of course, and then it's competence.
And where does AI come into this?
Everywhere, I would say. We have almost half of us in the company are our AI team, and the half of us is kind of investment and HR part. So we try to both invest in AI, of course, but also to enforce more.
Speaking of that, you wrote a piece on Breakleaks that has a pretty provocative headline, like really interesting headline. And I'm quoting, "Your next CFO might not be a person," you wrote, right? So you argue that companies are making a mistake by just slapping AI onto processes, and applying a thin layer. Can you explain what you mean by that, and like re-engineering a couple of times around the digital AI? That's your quote. Like, is that what you're doing with Disruptive Ventures?
Yeah, I would say that that's what we try to do at least. So we have not invested in what you call AI wrappers or that part. It's more we prefer, if it's possible, to go deeper. And it's not that we don't like AI wrappers. We think also that can be a great idea, as many others. But if possible, go deeper, yeah.
So if there's hopefully no CFOs here, but your CFO might not be, your next CFO might not be a person. But the flip side of that, what C-level role do you think would be the last one, or still around then? Or maybe the roles will change completely.
I think it will always change completely. I mean, my role has changed completely the last year and a half. So absolutely, I think the last ones, if I should say, probably sales and HR.
Sales and HR will be the last ones then. Is that because it's a people business?
Yeah, it's people business, and you have some confidential stuff and cultural stuff that is harder. Still, they will be AI, right? So the sales is of course because it's closest to the company, the customers. So I think that will stay.
So we talked a lot about moats and defensibility today. Do you think that's where the defensibility will be? The companies that are able to sell and invest?
I still think that that if you're close to the customer, you will have an advantage. That's been so for the last 30 years. I don't think that will change. On the 30 years that I've been around in this industry, I think the brand will be really important. Partnership. I also think that distribution, sales, relationships, that will be.
So when you're looking at companies in Constructive Ventures, so just to be clear, are you building companies from scratch too, or you're investing in teams?
We're investing in teams.
Okay. And so when a team comes into your office and they pitch, these are some of the things that you're looking for. Are they able to sell? Do they have distribution figured out? Is those the main things that you look for, or what makes you say, I want to do that?
No, it's people and ideas from me still. So that hangs around. Fantastic people, people that will go through walls, to stubborn people that really for me, I think entrepreneurs are people we don't accept. We want to make a change, and we don't accept not coming there. So people that are stubborn and have the grit and can persevere for 10 years or 15 years building a business. That's extremely important to me. And I think that comes also from a purpose. Finding your mission. Not only you will earn money if you're a good entrepreneur, you will get a lot of money when you choose to retire. But I think the thing is you have to just go for it, dare to dream. It's extremely important. So and I think the thing that we often discuss internally is like think big, like the previous people here were talking about. Think big, dare to dream, and everything will be great.
So when you meet founders, and the ones that you've invested in so far, they don't have any sales, they don't have any metrics that you look for or that you assess. They do?
Yeah, sure. I think for us, it's revenue is really important to us, and revenue growth. But it can be we can invest before revenue, but we want to push it upwards. So I think that's revenue traction is the most important, not profitability for us.
Okay. Can you tell us about some of the companies that you've invested in so far?
Yeah, sure. We've invested in one company called Lunalec. They do printed lights. If you say OLED, it's a competitor to that, but it's only plastics, no rare earth metals. So they can produce light to a tenth of the cost. That's a type of company that we like. But we also do crystal alarm. If you go to Holland Express or SE and you work, then that's a safety platform. So that's more of a traditional SaaS model, but it's with hardware.
And any areas that you are specifically looking for now? Yes, I'd love to. You mentioned, HR, finding talent and things like that. Anything that you haven't invested in that you'd like to?
We're mostly investing in AI now. So if you have anything within that,
there you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, we're open and we're a big team. So we can just. Yeah. I think that's what we like.
When you speak to a team, do they have to be technical? Do they have to have the sales skills? What if there's only a technical team, no sales skills, or the vice versa? Is that where you come in and say, hey, we can complement that?
We can invest in a highly technical person. We can also, I believe still in the kind of the hustler inventor thing. You need both. Not only hustlers, not only inventors. You need to mix those, and we can, of course, complement that, but you also need to build a team. So I think it's easier if you're two or more persons. But yeah,
Okay, cool. Are there any questions from the audience? I have a couple of rapid fire questions. Yeah, please go ahead. We have a question in the audience. If we can get the mic, please. Are you okay? The audience was just good.
There's no free chat.
Okay, do you want to say the question out?
Yeah, sure. Hey, thank you. So you started building in the edtech space or student edtech. So was it challenging back then as well to build in this space? And then how do you see it having changed now to kind of, build something in the edtech space, especially like, let's say, K through 12 or something? What's the difference then? How challenging was it when you built it?
So if I repeat the question, area that you built in first was student consulting. How has that changed over time? Is that the kind of question?
Yeah.
I think the opportunity here for all of you is that it's pretty much the same. If you go around looking downtown, it's the same recruitment companies, it's the same staffing companies. So I think it hasn't changed that much. And I think in the world that you live in, everyone is AI is so far ahead, but not if you go into reality, not here and not in Japan, not in the northern part of Sweden where I live. So this is huge option. I think this is the biggest single opportunity that I have seen during my 30 years. To start a company, you go for it. What can happen? I mean, you have nothing to lose. As long as you have it.
That's what Diana said in the beginning. Now is the best time to build. Any other questions from the audience? All right. Well, let me know if you have any questions. A couple of quick ones for you. Are we in an AI bubble?
No, we're not in an AI bubble, for sure. This is transformative. I think we're seeing this in reality. And this was like when I sent my first email, that was in the beginning of the 90s. I just didn't get it. I just said, why should I send an email to someone? Nothing happens. But that was the same moment. That's when I started used ChatGPT for the first time. This is something different. That was the internet. And now it's I think this is bigger than, to me, it's bigger than internet, to be honest, because that was a slower thing. And now you have the distribution. Your advantage towards others is that back then there were 200 million of internet users, and most of them were dial-up. So that was the vast majority. And now you have like billions of people that you can reach really fast. Of course, the competition will be higher, but if you can be world class, then this is a much better market.
Yeah, I definitely understand why you keep building. We were both there when the internet took off, and this is much bigger than the internet. ARR or profitability? You answered that one. Okay, so you're not looking for profitability.
No.
Okay. Stockholm or Luleå? You're from Luleå, though.
Umeå.
Okay.
Yeah, Stockholm, because it scales. It's a concentration of really talented people. And you also have kind of access to this thing. I think how you should think of the world is think you're on a highway or autobahn, and your agents are a Porsche or a Ferrari or some other really cool Koenigsegg, a really cool car. And if you can build just the fastest car and use the agents in that way, I think you have all the infrastructure that you need. So that's kind of...
Love it. And here's an interesting question, actually. Because you're a student and you built a company for students. Should a 22-year-old founder drop out of university today, given that it's the best time to build? What do you think?
Why not?
Love it.
It depends. I mean, it also depends, of course. If you want to, how much you learn at the university, how much you learn as an entrepreneur.
Yes, I love that. So where can you learn? Well, okay, the big red light is flashing again. So final question. What's one piece of advice you'd share with young founders?
Just go for it now. I mean, there's no risk. You can take a job anytime. This is the best opportunity in your life to build something really big. Just go for it. raise capital from whoever you want. There's a lot of capital out there, and there will be even more capital. So capital is not the thing. I think it's finding the right people to work with.
Yeah, maybe the final question. How can people get in touch with you? I mean, you're here now.
Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah. So just please come and talk to me. I'll be in the corner there. So, or just ping us at Disruptive Ventures. So we're really accessible. So just come with your ID, and I'll guide you. I'll send me an email. Niklas at disruptiveventures.net.
There you go. Perfect. Thank you all for listening. And Niklas, thank you so much. Fantastic. Get mic back to you, Diana. There you go.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Yes, the best time to build is now, indeed. But we have one last thing on our agenda before we let you go and build something nice. We would like to very briefly introduce you to our startup program and how you can get involved from us. And we'll also get the chance again to hear from a fantastic founder as well. So with the last part of our agenda, I would like to welcome my wonderful colleague Simon on stage, who is also part of our startup team and he's a startup success manager. And with him, we'll also have a founder on stage as well, Thomas, who is the founder of Jansson. So please both join me on stage. Happy to hear the insights and looking forward.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good to see all of you here. Again, my name is Simon Olsen, and I work with Google Cloud. More specifically, I work with our Google for Startups program, which we're here to speak about today, right? Joined by Thomas from Skifter, and together we'll be sharing some insights on what the program could do for you on your startup journey. The whole idea behind the Google for Startups program is that it's designed to be your growth engine, right? It's there to get you started on Google Cloud without having to worry about an initial upfront investment. Therefore, we provide Google credits, aka Google money, that you can spend to get started on Google Cloud. Let's have a look. So the entryway into the program we call Start Tier. Gives you $2,000 in credits, and it's very accessible. It is super easy to get. So as long as your startup was founded in the last 2 years, there is an incredible chance you're already qualified for the program and can start building something. The next tier is called Scale. This is for our VC-backed startups. There is a significant jump here, so it's for $100,000. And then our highest tier is the AI tier, which is for AI native VC-backed companies for a total of $250K. So as you can see, it stretches all the way from 2K to 250K. If you feel like you qualify, I'll be around. So feel free to grab me and I'll explore which tier might be good for you starting. Great. So with that being said, I'm also going to mention that it's not just about the credits. There is also a ton of other perks such as free Google Workspace. You all heard Anton speak before. So access to his team, custom engineers, and so on, technical deep dives. So I really think you should apply. Again, I'll stick around, so happy to discuss details later on. Great. With that being said, Thomas, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
For those in the audience who don't know you and who don't know Skifter, do you want to give us the elevator pitch, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're trying to do at Skifter is we're trying to fix the job market. And I think we all realize that the job market has been terrible for a long time. But I think as we all look forward, I think we all anticipate it to get a lot worse. I think we see that from all AI business cases being around firing people. We see it in the media around firing around, and it's just in for a bumpy ride. And career paths are disappearing. People can't enter the job market, but also just people have had careers of like 15 years, and they wake up one morning and that career path just doesn't exist anymore. And it's a terrible market to navigate. All of the aggregators, like LinkedIn, they only have a third of the jobs because companies don't want to pay to post them. And you don't really know what they want, right? Because it's just to make the smallest amount of input they can. So what we do at Skifter is we go out and we visit every company in the Nordic once an hour. And we find job posts that they have, and we get those into the Skifter platform. And then we try to understand like what competencies are they actually looking for, what kind of pay do we think they're paying. Both the competencies that they mentioned, but also like competencies where very similar job posts, we can infer, okay, so they're actually looking for bigger profile than what they say. And then we take in people and then we navigate in that job market based on their CV or LinkedIn profile or whatever they have. To show them all of those, we call them skiffs, so like career path that they can take and say, hey, you have some competencies that are still in demand. You might not know it, you might not be able to find it, but you can go over here, build on that, you can go over here, build on that. Or maybe we can also show them, or if they're up for it, we can show them, hey, here are the gaps we have in your competency profile, and if you build that with these courses or with this work, then this part of the market actually unlocks for you, or this more pay unlocks for you, right? So it becomes this navigator. And we do that, of course, B2C. So the people come into Skifter and it's a B2C SaaS. But the main volume comes through like large corporates who call up Skifter when they're doing firing rounds. You want to do that, or interest organizations, unions who have like 100 to 300,000 members, and they want to give this as an empowerment tool to that, so their members can navigate the market better. And then a lot of smaller workmanship groups are sort of what we serve.
Perfect. Thank you, Thomas. As many people in the area are building a product from the ground up, that creates, right? So do you want to share some of the technical hurdles that you had to overcome?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not easy. I think, when we started, we built like the technical prototype because we realized very quickly that like RAG and CAG and all these things actually cannot infer and understand these things. So there wasn't like the infrastructure available on the market for us to build Skifter. So we spent like 6 months, a team of the best people I knew, to come up and build, hey, how can we feasibly, we call it inference at scale, how can we inference across the entire market in real time for every user? And we come to a spot where we could do one user in 30 minutes, and there was like the total that we could serve. So we could serve 48 people every 24 hours. But there was sort of enough to get unions interested and getting us signed the first couple of need-to-be's. And then, we knew, hey, there are 5 things we need to scale this, right? One is, no one wants to be served with AI slop. So we had to I knew who I thought was the greatest designer in the world was, and I wanted him to join. I also wasn't going to do it. I knew I wanted the best, headhunter that I've ever encountered. I knew I wanted her to join. I also wasn't going to do it. I knew I wanted Camila, who is CHRO at a couple of C25s. Without her, I wouldn't do it. And if you wanted someone who had scaled the unit tour fast and had experience with that, he didn't join, we wouldn't do it. And then we knew we needed someone like Google because we're going to need data and access to compute and access to technology just way beyond what we could do. We were sort of shuffling 10, 15 Visa cards in and out of the Google platform to cover costs. In the beginning, we knew we needed something that was a lot larger than what we could do and what the limits on our credit cards could carry.
Great, thank you. And speaking about Google and Google, you joined the startup Cloud, right? So do you want to share with the audience some insights on how the program has helped you get into the ground?
Yeah, I think Google has a lot of products I think everyone will be familiar with. I think there's a couple of secrets that I would rather share, I think, to that question, right? So one of the things that's really helpful to us is batch inference. So it just allows us to send these huge data sets of a couple of gigabytes and get it processed with Gemini and get it back. And it really makes orchestration for us and AI for us really, really simple. We use that a lot. But also a flex tier where we can actually run some of those, very affordable and high quality Gemini models and then get them to flex tier and be able to scale and still be able to afford. We're always trading off the amount of AI we use versus the cost, and I think with this flex tier, which gives at the current moment is a 50% discount, that allows us to get twice as much party for our money. So I think flex tier and batch inference is these Google products that are not well known that we use a lot, and really opened our eyes. We didn't even know that when we went into the program. We're very happy about it.
Cool. You were touching on Google product and so on now, but are there any specific that you would like to highlight that have been a real game changer, let's say, for this team?
Yeah, I think, I don't think it's it's not a product, but I think what we get to, William and Laura and the other people in our team is we get access to, first of all, people who are 100% incentivized to just make us successful and make us scale. And as you all who are doing a startup knows, it's a walk through a desert, right? And Google has been sort of an oasis for us where every time we've had an issue and felt like, here we need help, they've been there ready, whether it's technical or sometimes just emotional support. So that's been really, really fun for us. And that has actually been some of the things that we've been very happy with. And then I think for sure, look, the credits helped us able to take on some elephants in this market, right? We're now up against the LinkedIn. We think they've run out of gas. We think we can do it better than them, but it takes real money to fight that fight. And there's a ton of aggregators out here who are just ancient, but obviously they make good money in this market. You think we can flip that market around, but that requires that we can actually build up this business. And the Google credits has of course accelerated this there.
Okay, thank you so much. One last question before letting it go. So we have a lot of founders in the room who are sitting where you were sitting not too long ago with CF2, right? So what's one piece of closing advice for the room today before the main round?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all on different journeys, and I'm sure that we can all learn from each other. I think what we've actually learned the most in the last 6 months in Skifter has been around, and I actually learned this when I was in McKinsey for 10 years, and I think the main thing I took away from me there was ask for help. And I think we're so good at talking to customers, talking to investors, talking to people we need. But I think asking for help and just being, hey, you're doing something in my space. Could you just look through what I'm doing? I need some advice. I need some sparring. We've gotten so much value out of that, connections and new ideas and good sort of direction setting. So I think everyone fundamentally wants to help. It's in our human DNA, but we're so bad at asking for it. So we've really tried to ramp it up. And then there's this Hormozy quote where he says do such a volume of work that it will be unreasonable for you not to succeed. And I think that really stuck with us. It's just, we're around 12 people now, and we are working at a pace which will be unreasonable not to succeed. And we might not, who knows, right? But it will be unreasonable. I think volume isn't for us just coding, for sure. We do a lot of that. But it is actually as much of just getting out there and getting the volume of contacts and the volume of feedback and the volume of connections. And especially when you live in the part of the world we do, where into sort of these massive unions, right? You gotta get introduced to a lot of people to land those with their huge volumes of people behind them. So we're trying to doing as much volume as we possibly can.
Great, thank you, Thomas, for coming in and sharing your insights. One last thing from our end. So if you want to apply for the startup program, feel free to scan the QR code. I'll also stick around if you have questions or want more details, but I highly recommend scanning this and going to the landing page and seeing what the program can do for you guys. Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, Tom, for coming. Thank you.
Thank you so much, both. And wow, folks, you almost made it. What a day. If we recap very, very briefly what we've heard throughout the day, I think there were so many valuable learnings. I think probably in every session, we talked about defensible moats, right? So think about those, as you heard from many of us. It's not necessarily the code these days that you're writing, but actually the traditional things that we defined back in the days about defensible moats, right? Like distribution, ecosystem, partnerships, domain expertise, access to unique kind of data. Right? So think about what is your defensible moat. Speed matters. We heard that not only from the investors, but also from the founders across the board. So think about that as well. And I think the best way to sum it up was also just go and build. The best time is actually really, really now. So we're very excited to see what you're going to build. But before you do that, what we have in stock for you. So since probably for many of us, or definitely for me, AI saved my life last night. I think we're now actually ready to move to the DJ saving our life tonight, because we have fantastic acts for you in stock. So a DJ who will save our life, and Black Nas themselves that probably or hopefully will play that song as well. It's happening all over there, just behind the curtain. You see it. It's going to be an amazing bingo. The Googlers will be there. We're happy to get the conversations going and continue also getting your questions, or just like have fun over drinks and food. Thank you all so much for bearing with us. We hope you enjoyed it and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.